Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 2 of the flavors of fall. Well, today we're going to be using squash again because it is one of the most common flavors of fall, but this time we're going to be using a butternut squash. And I'm going to show you a very simple side dish, something that you could have for your holiday tables to make it just a little bit different than plain old boiled squash. Although I must tell you, plain old boiled squash with butter, salt, and pepper is my husband's favorite way to eat it. But this is going to be roasted. And one of the things with roasting squash, butternut squash especially, is it brings out the sugars in the squash and it becomes very sweet. So we're going to doctor it up a little bit, and then we're going to mix it with some Granny Smith apples. And at the very end, it called for pecans. I don't have pecans. Pecans. Pecans, pecans, or pecans. Any one of the three. And I don't have any one of the three. So I'm going to use some walnuts. I'm not going to be eating this tonight. It is going to go with tomorrow's dinner, which will be a pork loin, tenderloin grilled on the grill with some mashed potato and then this side dish. But I can easily reheat it in the microwave tomorrow. My dinner plans for today were changed because we had at our local grocery store king crab on sale this week. And we had a lovely gift card that we had been given. So we thought this is the perfect opportunity to try some king crab. So that's what we're having for dinner tonight, king crab. And I don't know with what else, because usually with lobster or crab meat or whatever, we don't have much of anything else. But anyway, so I'm going to make the casserole today, and I'll show it to you. Maybe if it's not too hot, I'll give it a taste. And then tomorrow I will heat it up and use it with dinner. Now this is something that you can do, heat it up again very easily, or even make it and not cook it until the next day. So I'm going to take you down and show you what we're going to need. It's very few ingredients and very easy. Hold on. Okay, the ingredients you're going to need are butternut squash, and I have peeled the butternut squash and cut it into half-inch cubes, and I have about 4 cups here. The recipe calls for 5, but that's going to be plenty. Now I did not do the 2 bulbs. I didn't want to bother to peel them. I will put them in a bag and then just throw them in the oven and bake them and have it with my meal. The other ingredient you need are Granny Smith apples, some cinnamon, nutmeg, maple syrup. It can be pure maple syrup, or as I'm using, a maple flavored syrup, and some butter. And the butter is currently melting in the pan that's in my toaster oven. So let me get that out. All right, now we're going to add a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. Oh, let me see here. So I cannot get these tops off. Okay. Remember now, this pan is hot. It's been preheating. So I'm just going to mix this around in the melted butter. There's 2 tablespoons of butter in here. I'm going to pour in the squash. And we're going to stir it around and get it all coated. It'll take a few minutes to get this all coated nicely. Now, one thing with this butternut squash, if you're not into peeling squash, and butternut squash can be a pain in the neck to peel. Yeah, and it's hard to peel and you end up with orange hands. You can buy this already peeled in a bag in the grocery store. But I have to tell you, squash, especially butternut, but squash and apples are a match made in heaven. So there you go. I'm going to cover this now with foil, hopefully without burning myself. And I'm going to put it back in the oven. Bring it up, you can see the oven. No, I'm going to do my apples. I'm going to put this back in the oven. For 20 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm going to put this top back on before I don't put it on. And go to sprinkle it the next time I get a big glob. In the meantime, I'm going to cut some apples. You don't have to peel them, and that's good because the peeling is where a lot of the vitamins are. It says 2 to 3. I have 2, so that's what I'm using. And they're going to be in like 1/2-inch cubes also. I'm going to see if I can get you up just a little bit here. Yeah. There you go. And I'm using my toaster oven on convection bake, so we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, there's one. Oh, I have to tell you, this morning I made apple pancakes. I have some small apples, and I have a spiralizer. I put one of the apples in the spiralizer, and it created fantastic little pieces, and the core stayed on the spiralizer. So it was perfect. Took them off and put them in the pancake batter. So there's a flavor for fall right there. apple pancakes. All right. Now into that, I am going to put a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. And a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And of course, the balsamic vinegar is going to help to keep the apples from turning. All right, that's all set. So that's all we have to do now. We're going to wait for that 20 minutes or so till that squash gets pretty well soft, and I'll be back to show you the next step. Back in a bit. Okay, the first 20 minutes is done. I lifted you up a little bit so you get a better view. Take this out. And curious, it's still quite hard. Stir in that apple mixture. I must say it smells good in here. Cinnamon and nutmeg. How can you go wrong? What I'm going to do is turn this rack because if I turn the rack, I can cover it with its own cover. But I do need another pot holder. Hold on. All right, I'm going to put it on for another 15 minutes. Take it out, stir it, and put it back in for another 15 minutes. And then check to see if everything is done. So I will be back when we're ready to take it out of the oven. And I think for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to take the cover off because I want to get a little brownness to this. So we'll see what happens. See you back in a bit. Well, here's the finished product. And does it smell so good. And it has a juice in the bottom from the juices coming off the squash. So I'm just going around a little bit I'm giving it a little stir. And that is done. Now, I took a little bit out a couple minutes ago so that I'd be able to taste it because it's so hot I couldn't possibly taste it. But let me tell you a little something you can do with this. If you have leftover, saute up a little bit of onion, about half an onion, in some butter. Add this to the pot after the onion has softened. Cover it with some chicken stock and bring it to a boil. And I would let it simmer for just about 5 minutes because everything's cooked already basically. You can 5 to 10 minutes, but just to let the flavors meld. And take a blender or an immersion blender, mix it all up, and you'll have the most delicious squash soup you have ever had in your life. You can always add a little cream if you want it to be a creamy squash soup, but you don't need it. So anyway, I'm going to bring you up and I'll give it a taste test. Hold on. Hello. Here we are. And I threw a couple of walnuts on it so I could get the whole effect. I want to get some squash. You know, there's one thing that it does need, and it's not on the recipe. It needs a little salt and pepper. So I'm going to just salt and pepper this one and see, and I'll add some to the pan and stir it around. Delicious. I made it all gone. Very, very good. Very good. If you have a non-squash lover, try this recipe because it really is so sweet and delicious. But good for you. You can hide your vegetables in with your fruits and your kids will eat them. So anyway, that's the recipe for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here today, please consider subscribing and you'll get a notification if you hit the bell every time I come out to play. And if you're one of my regulars, thanks for stopping in. I so much appreciate all of you. And I will see you again on Tuesday. Until then, you can watch TV if you want to. I can't hardly get away from it. Look at it. Until then, stay safe, play by the rules, keep your distance, wear your mask, and everybody, play nice now. Bye-bye. Love you.